Joining me today is Union Minister Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri from the petroleum sector. Mr. Hardeep Puri, a sad day as we wish goodbye to a legend, Ratan Tata, a man who has described what patriotism in deeds actually means. How would you remember Mr. Ratan Tata today, on the day this nation mourns his death, but salutes him for being the man he was to India?
Navika ji, I recall an interview you did with Ratan Tata ji. I think it was the year 2008. And normally we are used to saying that, it is after a great individual's lifetime that he or she is given the stamp of becoming or being regarded as a legend. I think no matter which way I look at it, Ratan Tata ji was a living legend, even in his lifetime. Why? Let me explain this to you. Look at the contribution that he personally made, and through his leadership, the Tata companies made to building the India of today. When the liberalization process started and we started assuming outward oriented postures in 1991, that is the time when he assumed the leadership of the Tata Group. And no matter which sector you look at, I am more familiar of late with the work done by Tata Construction because they built our new Parliament building. I am aware of what they do in the airline sector. They've created fantastic brands. Vistara is a case in point. There are other airlines, and now they've reacquired Air India, which started its commercial journey there. If you look at their acquisition of brands outside India, Jaguar, JLR,
Range Rover,
it is a monumental tribute to one man's vision. I'm not saying all the decisions that the Tata groups took were his decision, but for a man to sit at the apex leadership point and provide a vision. Not every decision goes right. Some decisions will go wrong, but you don't stop there. I remember when liberalization took place, there were a lot of dissenting voices. There were some people who turned around and said, well, the Indian companies will now be gobbled up by other companies. But Mr. Tata not only stood his ground, but he in fact ended up creating global brands. The Tata hotels are a case in point, number one. Number two, more important, today if Indian companies are to become MNCs, it is the visionary leadership of somebody like Ratan Tata, where you will have, if that book is written, there'll have to be a big chapter on Mr. Ratan Tata himself. I have served during a long 39-year career in the Foreign Service, I've served in London, I've served in New York, and several places. You find the Tata hospitality brand flag flying very high there. Which is the Pier in New York or the, St. James Court in London. I'm talking not today, it's been happening over the years. And I think today we are in a situation where the outpourings of grief that you are seeing since early hours of the morning and the expressions of affection, appreciation, these are truly well deserved, because here was a giant amongst men, a giant amongst business leaders, a very decent and non-stereotype human being. Normally anybody achieves a great success in growing wealth in a corporation, they imbibe a little bit of arrogance, they like to throw their weight around. This man's entire life was characterized by, no, he didn't suffer fools also, but it was characterized by humility. He could carry people and he earned their respect. And by the way, this was across governments. From the time that he assumed leadership in 1991. So I think today I join millions of other Indians. I was deeply privileged to have had the good fortune of meeting him. My meetings with him were always work-oriented. In London, when we were the Tata Group had 100 million sterling worth of investment. When Lakshmi was in Budapest, they put in 100 million euros worth of investment. So I've seen the Tata Group grow. And along with that has been, I think, I wouldn't call it a style, it's a template that they produced of doing business for the country, where the country also benefited, and I have never heard them, cutting corners or reported to be cutting corners the way other. Well, you'll have individual, disputes here and there, but the overall stamp was one of very high respectability, and the individual who led it for so many years, when he relinquished charge and then became head of Tata Trust, that's a great tradition that he inherited, and he contributed to it in even larger measure. So I think the legend will live on.
Absolutely. And as I recall that interview, he was deeply personally hurt with the political atmosphere at that time when he had to step out of West Bengal and come into Gujarat. And this interview, the visuals of which are playing tonight, actually were the moment where that dream was being fulfilled. And he was such a humble man, not very verbose, rhetorical, but the moist eyes just showed that bit of emotion of how involved he was in that dream project called Nano. And he delivered it, worked towards it right till the end, completely, deeply, personally involved with it. And that's the kind of man he was, Mr. Hardeep Puri.
Navika, you're absolutely right. On the Nano story, let me tell you, the movement of the cars, manufacturing capacity from West Bengal to Gujarat was one thing. He was a visionary. We tried the Nano in Brazil also. But not all dream projects, not all ideas meet commercial success. Sometimes a small idea results in a big success. But I never heard him in public, express the kind of feelings which any other human being would have after the way he was treated at that particular political juncture. That is one. And his love for pets, absolutely, you're 100% right. I mean, the stories are legion. People who have visited him tell you those stories. My last meeting with him was in Delhi. I had a collaborator called Mr. D.K. Berry, who I remember with great affection because he started his professional life under my father, and he was Mr. Tata's constant companion when he came to Delhi. So he brought him across to see me. I always offered to go and see Mr. Tata by sheer virtue of the fact that he's a senior. But no, he insisted on coming. And I remember that meeting. It was the days when we were, negotiating the privatization of Air India. There were people within the Tata Group who had doubts about it because, as the saying goes, if you're a billionaire and you want to become a millionaire, acquire an airline. But, our view always was that if somebody can turn it around, it's the Tatas, and they won it in a bid, a fair and square bid. There was a reserve price and it went on. Every meeting with him was a learning point. I now regret a little. We have a common friend in Mumbai who, during my last visit, when he was not keeping well, I had expressed a desire to, go and say hello to him. And he tried to arrange it, but my program, some of the meetings went on late and became very late in the evening. But I think the legacy he acquired, the contribution he made to making the Tata Group what it is today, and he's set out a roadmap. It's not going to stop here. A professionally managed group under the chairman of Tata Sons and others will take this to further heights. And as I said, if the name of the game is creating Indian MNCs, the Tata Group is right out there to lead and be part of that process.
Absolutely, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri. And for consumers who use their products, the name Tata actually signified dependability and trust. And those are, those are attributes that are very difficult to come by. Dependability and trust is what the Tata name means in India. And Mr. Ratan Tata actually personified them with his very affable, smiling, and humble exterior. A man who was a true patriot, really showing it through his deeds, maybe not just words. And that's Ratan Tata for us. We salute him as a nation, and thank you very much, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, for joining me with your personal anecdotes on Mr. Ratan Tata and an insight into his life and times.